Sit back and enjoy. Can you all wave to Miss Pelta? Good morning, Miss Pelta, or should I call you Enion? Yeah, I'll have to ask you to unmute here. I had to mute all the kids. You know how it is. We have to have a moment to talk here. Okay, so how about now? You good?
That works. You can call me Enion. Good morning.
Good morning. So we have a classroom with some 6th, 7th, and 8th graders today. They're all very excited to see you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're from and where you're at right now?
Okay. My name is Enion Pelta-Tiller, and I am a violinist, fiddle player, and singer, and songwriter, and composer. I grew up playing classical music and some fiddle music, and now I mostly play fiddle music. I have my own band called Taarka that when things are normal, I go on tour all around the country with, and I've actually even played in McMinnville, where you are. At one of the McMenamins establishments there.
Oh my goodness. That's great. That's so cool. Are you from Oregon originally, or?
No, I'm originally from California, but I lived in Portland for 5 years, and I have family in Portland still, so got strong ties to Oregon.
But you're not in Oregon anymore. Where are you nowadays?
Nowadays, normally I live in Colorado. That's where I make my home. But for this winter, when we're all in our respective isolation places, we're in Virginia, where my husband's family lives.
Wow. So you're in Virginia right now. We're in Oregon.
Yes.
This Zoom thing is pretty incredible, really.
It really is.
Awesome. Well, yeah, you mentioned you're in a band called Taarka, and I'm saying that right, aren't I? Taarka?
Yes, that's right. It's as simple as possible.
Okay. It looked with the 2 A's there, it looks like it's maybe something else, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't know what we were thinking. It was a purely aesthetic decision, purely based on the fact that we liked the way that it looked.
Now that band has your husband in it, is that right?
That's right.
And he plays mandolin?
He does. And he was going to join us today, but he's having some hand problems. So it's just going to be me.
Well, that's all right. We're okay with that. Okay, the mandolin, though, I just wanted to touch base. We talked about it a little bit yesterday in my class. It has 8 strings. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah.
But it's part of the violin family.
But it only has 4 open notes. So each set of 2 strings plays the same note.
Okay. We had a cello player on Monday, or excuse me, on Tuesday, and his cello had 4 strings, and your violin also has, how many strings are on the violin there?
Yeah, so normally a violin has 4 strings. However, I'm not a normal violinist.
Okay.
So I got myself a violin that has 5 strings, and you can tell how many strings it has because you can look at this part. This is called the scroll or the peg head, and there's 5 pegs. Each one of these pegs corresponds to a string. And I have 5 strings because I like to have an extra lower note.
Okay. And so those knobs, do they help tune it and keep it sounding good?
They do, yeah. Yeah, these are called the tuning pegs. There's also, I don't know how well you can see it, but there's also little knobs down here. Those are called the fine tuners, and I use those when my strings are not very out of tune.
Okay.
So they help when I'm really close to being in tune and I just want to make things a little bit more perfect.
That's just like the cello we saw on Tuesday. He had the big knobs at the top, but he didn't touch those. He used the little ones on the bottom to keep it in tune, I guess. So it's same thing, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Violin and cello are very similar. Um, there's a family called the violin family, and the violin family includes violin, viola, and cello. And when you see, I don't know if you all have heard of an upright bass, but it looks kind of like a really big cello, but we consider it to be like a cousin of the violin family. It's not in the immediate family, same as the violin, because it's tuned differently and shaped a little differently.
Right. Well, that makes total sense. Um, you have in your right hand, I think, a bow. We learned that what a bow was. Can we
Yeah.
look at that really quick? Now it's smaller than is that maybe smaller than the cello bow? Does it matter?
So a violin bow is thinner than a cello bow. However, it's actually a little bit longer than a cello bow.
Oh, okay. Now we
But
learned that
a
the
cello bow
cello bow
is much fatter stick of wood.
is it also made out of horsehair?
So I don't know how well you can see because I've got light behind me. There's just no place to get away from it in here. The dark part, the brown part, is made of wood, and then this is horsehair, and that horsehair part I get replaced about once every 6 months.
Wow. Does it matter what kind of horse? Are there horses like bred for bows? This is like new to me.
I think they're special horses that have hair that's already very light in color, so that they don't have to do too much to get the hair to be this color and also the right thickness of hair. You don't want hair that's too thick and you don't want hair that's too thin.
That's fabulous. Okay, well, I think we've got a pretty good introduction to you and the instrument. If you wouldn't mind showing us how this instrument works, we would love to see that.
I would be very happy to. So I'm going to start out with a little song that I wrote, a tune that I wrote, I should say. The difference between a tune and a song, if you don't know, is that a tune doesn't have words and a song usually does. So this tune is called What My Darlin' Says, and I hope you enjoy it.
That was wonderful. Class, can you just in the screens clap I know this isn't like the real audience, but it's got to feel kind of good to see applause, maybe, even if you can't hear it. Um, Beautiful tune, and we're really enjoying it so far. The the cello player had to ask him, and I noticed with you, where does your mind go when you're playing? Do you like?
Well, that's a dangerous question. Where does um, because obviously if I'm getting distracted, I don't want to tell you all. But no, when I'm playing, it depends on what I'm playing. Some songs that I play, I have to think a little bit harder about where my fingers are going, where my bow is going. But really, what I'm doing when I'm playing is I'm always trying to think of the sound that I want to hear. So I try to hear in my head the sound that I want to come out of the violin into the room and to all of you. And that's the best way for me to stay focused on my performance, by thinking about what I want it to sound like and hearing that sound in my head.
Right. How much does precision matter? I don't know if we know what that word means exactly, but basically the placement of your fingers. Like if you're, say, a millimeter or centimeter off, does it sound way different? You have to be really exact.
A millimeter off, it will sound different enough to someone who really knows music and pays attention to music. It will sound out of tune. A centimeter off means I'm playing an entirely different note than it would be. It's a little different from cello because the notes are much closer together on the violin. So there's less room for mistakes.
Got it. You have to be maybe better.
Looks like Kyron has a question.
Yeah, Kyron he's an inquisitive guy. Kyron, would you like to ask a question? Okay, let's get to one of those.
I have a question. How many different violin players are there?
Well, I'm not sure, but I would guess that there are probably millions of people in the world that play the violin. And that's including everybody that plays, not just people that play professionally, but there are probably hundreds of thousands of professional violin players. It's a very popular instrument.
How could a kid get into playing violin? Is there a way for them to find one?
Well, yes, there are places that will rent violins. Sometimes there are organizations that just give instruments to kids that are interested in playing just for free so they can try them out. And I don't know if there's anything like that in your area. I think there probably is in Portland. But the first step is getting an instrument to try out and then finding somebody who knows a lot about the violin to show you the basics. And again, not all teachers are going to cost money. Sometimes there are people who just teach because they want kids to have the experience of making music. So it might take a little looking, but it's pretty easy to get into it once you find an instrument and someone that can show you a couple things.
Caden has a question. Let's go to him real quick. Caden, are you there?
Yes. I was wondering, what is a violin made out of?
That's a wonderful question. I think about this all the time because the violin is made out of a bunch of different materials. Actually, I'm going to ask you, what do you think the violin is made out of?
I don't know. To be honest.
What does this look like to you?
Redwood. It's red.
Well, yeah, it's wood. And it's red because they put a varnish, they put a color on it. The wood starts out looking white, and then they put a varnish on it. But the violin is made out of 3 different kinds of wood. The top of it is made out of spruce, which is kind of like redwood. It's a fir tree. And then the sides and the back are made out of maple, or sometimes other hardwoods, trees that lose their leaves in the winter. And then this part, which is called the chin rest, and the fingerboard, and the pegs are all made out of a wood called ebony. And ebony is a very dark wood, so they don't change the color to make it this black color. It just is that color.
Wow, like 3 or
And
4
then,
different trees.
but I forgot, I'm not finished. So then this bridge is also made of maple. Then the strings are made of metal. And this part is made of metal. So it's made out of a few different materials. And then one more thing, it's glued together with a glue that's actually made, it's an animal-based glue. So it's got wood and metal and animal as well, just like the bow has all those things too.
It's very organic. It feels like all these things from nature.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. Well, how about another song? Would that be okay? And then maybe we'll have a few more questions.
I'd love to. So this time I'm going to play a song, an actual song for you. This is an old song from, I think it's from Virginia, which is where I am. And I'm going to play and sing at the same time, which is very hard to do. So I hope it goes okay. And this is called The Factory Girl. No more shall I work in a factory, greasy up my clothes. No more shall I work in a factory, splinters in my toes. Sing, pity me, my darling, pity me, I say. Pity me, my darling, carry me away. No more shall I see the bosses come, boys, you better duff. No more shall I hear the bosses say, spinners, you better clean up. Sing, pity me, my darling, pity me, I say. Pity me, my darling, carry me away. No more shall I see the super come, all dressed up so proud. For I shall marry a country boy before the year is out. Sing, pity me, my darling, pity me, I say. Pity me, my darling, carry me away. No more shall I hear the drummer wheels rolling over my head. The factory girls are hard at work, I'll be in my bed. Sing, pity me, my darling, pity me, I say. Pity me, my darling, carry me away. More shall I work in a factory, greasy up my clothes. No more shall I work in a factory, splinters in my toes. Sing, pity me, my darling, pity me, I say. Pity me, my darling, pity me, I say. Pity me, my darling, pity me, I say. Pity me, my darling, carry me away.
Whoa, that was incredible. Thank you so much. You are amazing. That's awesome. Really great. Yeah, we usually turn it over to the students a little bit right now and see if anyone has a question. Typically, we have Francis Regan with us, who's our speech pathologist who kind of guides that, but he's not with us on Fridays. He did work with a few of our students this week. So I want to ask if anyone, I can't see everyone at the same time. There's so many people here, but does anyone have a question they would like to ask Miss Enion here? I'll put it in gallery view so I can see any questions that come up. Just raise your hand if you've got one. I'll try to find you.
John wrote in the chat he had a question too.
Oh, wonderful. Let's start with John. He's in the top left here. John? Okay, you're on, buddy.
How get horse hair?
Can you repeat that? It was a little hard for me to hear. I'm sorry.
What'd you say?
If John can just push repeat on that again so we can hear it one more time.
How get horse hair?
How do you get? He wants to know.
Sorry. He wants to know how you get the horsehair from the bow, I believe.
How I what?
Hold on. How do you get the horsehair for the bow?
Oh, that's a very good question. So there are people called luthiers. And there are people that build and fix instruments. And I take the bow to my luthier, and he gets the hair for me and puts it on. And I have no idea where he gets it from.
Okay. Anyone else got a question? Even if it's about horsehair?
It looks
Okay.
like there's a really good question in the chat from Aaron.
Who were some musicians that inspired you, it looks like, is a question there.
That's a wonderful question. I love answering that question because it's nice to talk about your heroes. Now, my dad is definitely the first and foremost. He taught me about music when I was really, really little, even before I played the violin. And then there's another fiddle player named Daryl Anger, who's really awesome. And he's someone I've been seeing perform since I was very little. And then later we became friends, and he's been a huge inspiration to me. And other musicians, and every musician I see really inspires me because there's always something to learn from anyone that does the same thing and loves the same thing that you love. So there are many, too many to name, but my dad, Daryl Anger, Yo-Yo Ma has also been a great inspiration, and another person I got to meet when I was a kid because I used to play in an orchestra, and he came and did a performance with us. So
famous.
lots of different musicians.
Does anyone else have a question? Some of our cameras are off, so I'm not sure if you have a question, you can turn your camera on and just raise your hand. Or if you have a question, you can. Kyron's got another question. Wonderful. All right, Kyron, what's your question, sir?
My question is, where did you get that violin?
Where do you get a violin?
I think he wants to know where you got your violin.
Oh, where I got my violin. Oh, okay. So my violin actually was made especially for me by a luthier in Portland, just up the road from you. He made this one in 2006, and his name was John Sullivan, and he's unfortunately not living anymore, but he made a lot of wonderful violins, and I feel really lucky to have this instrument.
We learned that a cello could cost more than $30,000 on Monday, which blew my mind. What about a violin? Is it relative to that?
There are violins that have sold for over $3 million. However, nowadays you can get a violin that sounds good for much, much, much less than that. You can get a violin that sounds pretty good for, well, a couple $1,000s, which is still a lot of money, but it's not 3 million. And you can get a violin that works and doesn't sound too bad for even less than that. So there's a very big range. People are figuring out how to make a box of wood that makes a good sound for not very much money these days.
Okay, we're getting a little short on time here, but I have to ask, are you missing playing for people? Are you missing your audience right now?
So much. This is wonderful. I've done things like this, not for classes, but I've done a lot of online performances in the past year. But it's really not the same as being in the room with everybody. When you're performing, it's not just you that's creating the energy in the room. It's everybody being together. And as a performer, you get energized by the energy of the people listening to you. And so it becomes a really wonderful experience that everybody has together. It's not just about, the person on stage doing everything. So that's the part I miss the most.
I imagine. Well, we can't thank you enough for providing us with some good energy this morning and showing off your talents and skills and teaching us a lot about this instrument. We do have one more question, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
My former students, I missed this girl. Her name's Kyla. Let's see what she's got to ask. Kyla, are you there? We'd love to hear your question.
Yeah. So I typed this in the chat. I don't know if you saw it, but I asked if you had any siblings.
Well, that's a complex question for me. But I had 2 brothers, both musicians. Sadly, they're no longer living, but so yes and no. And my husband has a big family with 3 siblings, so I have them as my siblings now too.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Would you mind taking us out with a song, or do you have time for that?
Sure, I'll take you out. I'm going to play another instrumental tune. This is about an old cat that my mother-in-law had. And I was hanging out in the kitchen of this very house with her, and she was so old she didn't move or do anything. And then as I was sitting in the kitchen with her just playing my fiddle, she got the idea that she was going to jump up from the floor onto the counter, which was a big jump for a very old cat. She's 21 years old at the time. And she did it. So this is the song that is my tribute to her. It's called Camille's Last Jump, because it was her last jump. That wasn't the reason it was her last jump. She was just so old. So here it is.
just wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing this all with us. We really appreciate it.
That
We'd
was
like
such a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I'm glad I asked. The one thing we like to do is stock our classroom. We're working on this with merchandise or like CDs or vinyl that we can keep forever to remember you by and our students can listen to for years to come. Do you have anything that we could purchase like CD or vinyl or anything like that for a classroom of Taarka?
We do. We have CDs and downloads
Okay, the
that
digital
you're
world.
on our website that you're welcome to purchase. That would be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
We also, if there, I don't know if any of you are musicians yet or already, but there are also we have some sheet music for some of our songs too out there in the world.
That would be super cool to have here. We could even
that
frame it.
that I can actually send you a link for. Just
Okay. Let's stay in touch about that. That'd be really neat to have. All right. Well, we got to get to math class. You know, we are in school, I guess. So can we all just kind of wave goodbye? You can do this thing too, I guess, whatever you want to do to just show our gratitude, our thankfulness for Enion coming and joining us. Awesome stuff.
thanks. It was so great to meet all of you. Meet all of you.
Wonderful. We'll be in touch, Enion. And again, thank you so much. And I hope the best for you. Okay.
Thank you. You all too. You're very welcome.